Greetings and salutations! I forgot to turn on the light. There we go. Alright, I am just getting set up here. Finishing off the setting up here. Because one of the things that I forgot to do was actually charge my tablet. So I can't see. Well, I can see at the moment, but it's got like 4% left and it doesn't do too well at charging over here. So I am trying to get my phone, which is fully charged, to show me the chat. Because if I don't, then I get a feeling that about halfway through this stream the tablet's going to die and I'm not going to be able to see what anybody's saying. One problem is, it's currently not remembering my password. Or it's not prompting to remember my password for me. Which is a problem, because I don't recall what that is. So what I need to do is take a quick squint at this. And hopefully this will remind me what my password is. And it's a doozy. Is that gonna work? Okay. Alright, so anyway. That's probably not gonna work anytime soon. Because it's being a douche. But there we go. So. Is that gonna work? There we go. Okay, great stuff. Accept that. And. Hey! Okay, that's slightly better. I can actually see what's going on now, and I don't have to worry too much about that. So I can turn that off before it dies, because that's always fun. Alright, let's close up that, because I don't need it. Also, I got this in the post today. It is a brick it got sent to me by the wonderful JStation64 and Ghost of Sunny. It confused the hell out of me as to why I got sent a brick in the post. More expect these kind of things to come through the window rather than through the mail. And it is in honor of my Hitman 3 streams. So I am now the proud owner of a brick. That's the thing. It's not a real brick. It's a rubber brick, so you can actually throw it at people. Wouldn't recommend it. But it is possible to potentially throw it at people. And it will not kill them. Just like the bricks in Hitman 3. Alright, so that's done. We can close that, and we can close that. We can close that. We don't need that open anymore, and let us load up the game. You loading up? Is that looking good? I don't think there's anybody around at the moment. Yeah, looks fine. Alrighty then. Okie dokie. So, we were up to... We just arrived at Sade Newer. Cleared out the bad guys from the outside. In the surrounding areas. There's the Bright Hollow, the eastern Barbican. And the western one was cleared, the eastern one's got a blockage in it. There is a door here. Do believe the door to the Bright Hollow was locked. Durance is really not looking too well. Should possibly consider resting at some point, but everybody else is fine for the moment. So I've switched him over to a ranged weapon. And this is so like I kind of remember bits about this.
He doesn't have to know.
You think it'd be mad if we sat in his chair? He doesn't have to know. Who are you talking about? Okay, so this is a unique unique sword, one-handed. Its blade is covered with graceful Glenfarthine engravings. Whispers of the Yenwood was once the sword of the first Road Warden of Sade Newer. When the Earl of Yenwood appointed Eodhart, the young lord feared the spirits that were rumoured to dwell under the young castle's foundations. He spent a sizable sum in to have the Black Himran steel blade forge shipped to the Eastern Reach for the engraving by the Earl's Glenfarthine slave artisans and enchanted in a new Dunran. Kefed is known to have used the sword in the Battle of Giran and to help the neighbouring Rhetorics suppress an uprising in the Gilded Veil, but there is no recorded use of it in Sade Newer. Over time, Kefed began to believe that the sword had been cursed by the Glenfarthine artisans who decorated it. He confided in those close to him that he thought that the spirits of the dead were speaking to him through the blade while he slept. One evening, against the pleas of his wife and soldiers, a maddened Kefed carried the sword deep into the misty woods of near Glenfarth. His body was never recovered, but the next Road Warden the Earl assigned to Sade Newer found it waiting for him on the throne in the keep's great hall. None of the soldiers could explain how the sword had appeared there. No Road Warden has carried the sword since that day. And it's got a lot of things. Accuracy against spirits, damage against spirits, converts grazes to hits 20% of the time. -3 will is not a great thing, but +2 constitution. And it's just sitting there, so I'll take it. Oh, there is bad guys in here. Okay, I need you to run away. Run away! I could really do with you getting in that thing's way. Oh, you've been stunned.
Following your lead.
Certainly.
Oh, you've both been stunned. You need to run away. You cannot venture forth while in combat. And you died. let's mulligan that. End of session. Let's go back a bit. Let's rest outside. Let's get Durrance looking at least somewhat healthy. And then try stepping into the room again. Neither of them have damage reduction, and that's something I think I need to take care of. Damage reduction is very useful. It's not massively useful, but it's better getting some bonus than no bonus.
The deer wood as well. What do you make of it so far?
I haven't had much time to take in the sights. Fair point. I have been here a short time myself, but the locals leave a strong impression. I find the food, too. They're a rather refreshing bunch otherwise, I think. I've whiled away an hour or two talking to the regulars in one tavern or another, and everyone from the merchant to the servant has an opinion to share.
Of course.
Alright. So, it's as if for the first time we're going through this door.
Clearly of a deer and make. They like their archways.
Don't have to worry about everything going terribly, terribly wrong. You're getting mullered. Absolute mullered.
Not quite.
Did you do the thing? Could you do the thing? No, I don't want that. I never want that. I always want skellies. Hey, J Station. How goes it?
Let's end this.
Okay, you got knocked out as well. If we could concentrate a little bit on this one. Oh, they're buffing each other, I think. No, finally, one of them's down. Alright, kill that one. Feeling about 30% more alive. How are the pillars? Do they stand? Do they fall? I mean, they fall rather easily, some of these people. Oh, all the human skeletons have left the party. Summon more human skeletons! We now have 2 chanters, so we can get 6 skeletons on the field at any one time. Which gives these guys plenty of cannon fodder to have at. There we go. Finally, everybody's dead. Or alive. Come on.
Hey.
Spirit residue. Okay. The grey and brown pelts of mice flit between the boards. The brazier's chains are rigid with rust. We've just entered Seder Nia. for the second time. The first time Durrance died, and I was like, nah, mulligan. And so looking around, I mean, I can't remember whether you're here for the last session, J-Station, but the previous session, we started off in the basement of Raedric's hold and worked our way up to the throne room, but it was a 7 versus 4 fight, and we just got our asses handed to us, even though we'd just been fully rested, and it was like, I'm gonna reload and go somewhere else because I feel that it's too early in the plot for too early in the character development to be taking on those kind of odds and winning. I started watching but succumbed to sleep unnaturally early. I mean, that's fair. You're ill. It's good that you're here, and I appreciate that, but if you need to go sleep, go sleep. But yeah, so got to the throne room of that, basically talked to the guy, said that we're gonna overthrow him, put his cousin on the throne. He didn't quite appreciate that, but you know, that's how lords tend to be. Got our asses handed to us, reloaded, and then started heading for Sadia Newer. That's fair enough. And now I'm awake now. For now at least. Yes. Which is the place where we want to come to for the Watcher, or guidance on the Watcher. I'm a Watcher. We suspect that there's somebody here that is either a Watcher or knows about Watchers. As you come to the end of the great hall, you perceive an inviting warmth radiating from the grand throne wrought out of marble. Its masterful artistry is out of place amidst the castle's more practical stonework. The veiled face of a woman is carved above the throne backing, watching over the room with hollow eyes. As you approach, you feel the warmth fluctuate, as though stirring. A voice rings out from the carving, permeating the fortress through stone and air.
Another watcher in Cadnua, glowing very brightly indeed to these eyes. What strange happenstance.
Who's that speaking?
I'm sorry if I startled you. I'm afraid my manners have been slipping. I haven't had much opportunity for introductions lately. In any case, I assume you're here looking for Meerwald.
Are you imprisoned in that throne?
Imprisoned? At times it feels that way, I suppose. But it's more that I reside here. The throne was brought up from the ruins. One of the first things they found. As a last favor to a dying woman, the Earl arranged for me to be moved into it. Audra is an accommodating vessel for a soul. Oh, it's not as confining as it seems. I can feel the whole keep from here, and all things that are tied to it. There's something about this throne and its construction. Or maybe it's something about this place.
How is resurrection in this? Is it down and out, or is it some buffer for some to get knocked down for a while? So it's very different in Pillars of Eternity to most TTRPGs that I am aware of. You've got stamina and you've got health, or you've got endurance and you've got health. One of the two. And out of combat, your stamina regenerates, or your endurance regenerates, but up to your current health maximum, or your current endurance maximum, whichever is lower. When you get in a fight, if you get hit, it takes off both your endurance and your health. When you hit 0 endurance, you're knocked out, and you're essentially out of that encounter. When the encounter ends, you wake up with an injury that lasts until you rest. That, you know, it's worded something like, you know, cracked rib or sprained ankle or concussion or something along those lines, and it gives you a detriment. If, however, you get healed, that only heals up your endurance, again, to your maximum endurance or your maximum health, whichever is lower. Also, if you're going through too many encounters in a day, and you start to run low on health, it could be that your health is lower than your endurance. If your health reaches 0, you die. I do not know if it is possible to have people resurrected. It's actually a really interesting way of doing it. It's great for a video game because it can keep track of these things. You've not gotten that far yet, lol. I mean, people have died, but more often than not, people have died, and it's just been so I'm going to reload it because I've not had a chance to find anybody where it's like, oh yeah, this will resurrect somebody. You know, it's a nice concept for a video game because it allows you to have multiple encounters in a day without, you know, if you go over to RetroTed's stream and watch him playing Icewind Dale, he's having to rest left, right, and center as he's trying to go through a single dungeon. I'm having to do that, but not as frequently. Or he's got to top himself up with healing potions and the like, which is sinking a lot of his wealth into these healing potions. With this, it's like, yeah, if you've got the people in the right positions and you get into combat, then, you know, they occasionally get knocked out, but very rarely die. Whereas, you know, and then, you know, after a quick moment or two after combat is finished, your endurance goes back up to its maximum, and your health is a lot higher than your maximum endurance. You know, I think I'll get the numbers in a moment, but it's something like you might have 50 endurance and 200 health. So you can get knocked out completely a few times. There's a lot more wounding going on, and a lot less dying. Yeah, the wounds are a little more common, and it's not like there's that many. To a certain degree, it depends on how quickly they get knocked out. More often than not, I'm not getting knocked out, it's just chipping away at the health, and we're surviving a lot of the fights. When they do get knocked out, they get one injury. Still getting this thing where it's like I'm having to stop because one party member is severely injured. When, you know, everybody else is fine, but somebody's gotten unlucky and got knocked out a couple of times, and whoop, well, we're gonna have to rest. Tell me more about Meerwald.
He was a great man. He came here one day, young with long hair and polished armor, and he banished the dark things that had come to lurk in this place after centuries of neglect. He could see the beauty of this place, the way it had been, so he claimed it for his own when no one else would take it. We worked together to restore it. But he began to grow distant some time ago. He never told me why. He retreated deeper and deeper into the keep, never leaving, sending servants for food, hiding himself from my sight. The restoration stopped. Now, to look at the place, you'd never know the progress we've made. In most places, it's worse than it ever was. And all I can do is watch it crumble around me.
Any idea where I can find Meerwald?
I can feel his presence faintly somewhere deeper inside the keep. But he uses his gifts to confound me, and my senses are dulled while he does so. I only wish I could know his mind.
Farewell.
Take care in your search. Many dangers lie in wait here.
So yeah, Ida has 114 endurance and 564 health. He's gotten frostbite, which is negative 15 to the fortitude, negative 8 damage reduction to freeze damage, and the same is applied to Alof. And so, now that we're out of combat, their endurance has gone back up to maximum, so they're good for a good fight. But when that bar starts getting low, then it's like, need to start thinking about resting. When their portrait starts to go grey, then it's like, okay, if they get knocked out, they're dead. Which is essentially what you want to avoid. Yeah. I have a feeling that it wants me to go through that door as soon as though it opened it the moment the conversation was over.
Hey.
To whispers and shadows.
Is this trapped? No, but it's also just empty. And it's called the treasury, not a box. Hey, Lord of Misrule, how goes it? So yeah, I think it's quite a good system to a certain extent, and it would be interesting to see it played out at the tabletop. It's just I think that they would need to do a lot more simpler numbers for endurance and health than what it is. It kind of reminds me a little bit about how they've done it in Starfinder. Although Starfinder, as we're aware, it's one of them where it's like kind of works, but it's also you've got to work a lot to start running out of health as a GM/player, especially past a certain level.
Been out playing soldier again, have we? Go wash up and come help me shuck these peas.
As you draw nearer, the apparition in front of you resolves into an elven woman. Her stringy hair is tied back, and she tugs at a loose thread on her apron. There's a distant hollow look in her eyes until she notices you. With a frail smile, descends like a veil over her face. She turns for you long enough to produce a basket that, like her, is shimmering and semi-transparent. And no complaints, you've got to eat your vegetables if you want to grow up strong and be a real soldier one day. Just like we agreed, right? She watches you out the corner of her eye. Say nothing.
Soldiers are important people. They defend the weak and punish the wicked. You're too young to understand now, but there are lots of wicked people. People like the man who murdered your father.
Her voice raises and falls as she bends over the basket. She sighs, a spectral strand of hair fluttering. She snaps off a shell like a torn fingernail. She crushes another husk between thumb and finger. Remind me, what happened to my father?
Before you were born, the Glanfathans attacked settlers like us. They said we'd knocked over some of their special Adra rocks. That's why they call it the Broken Stone War. They got very angry, and so they came into our villages and killed many people. Your father was one of them.
Her brittle smile snaps. A pod slips out of her grasp, and she jabs the side of it with her finger. And she jabs the side of her finger with a jagged thumbnail. She says nothing as the skin slowly turns from white to red. He was one of the people the Glanfathans killed? That he was. Her voice is low and hoarse, her hand frozen over the basket. Something dark and empty clouds over her eyes.
That's why you'll be a soldier one day. To protect And to avenge. Why don't you go back out and play? I'll finish up here.
She drops the basket and turns away, dabbing at her face with the corner of her apron. She stares at the trickle of blood on her finger. Let's head down into the basement, because that's where all good things are. The silver trail of slugs gleams inside the barrels. Ivory spinner. Some kind of spider?
Leave it to me.
Yeah.
You're not getting through me. Not to alarm me.
Skellies! Skellies!
I'm slowly dying.
Brave. We lost you.
Hey.
By the flame. We're down one. We're down one.
More skellybobs.
Following your lead. Stand still.
You go aggro that one. You go take care of that one. Yep, not everybody's finished just yet.
That's it.
Brave.
With they feel us mutant.
But yeah, one of the things that you want to be careful of in this is because you're... Whenever you do healing, it only affects your endurance, not your health. It can be very easy to, you know, Ryder here has been severely injured and then
Hey.
he's healed up. Because of some passive healing abilities that I've got going on. And that essentially means that he's now a lot worse off than when this started. Which in itself isn't the worst thing in the world.
Fight on, my friend.
But it is a little bit problematic in terms of making sure that he doesn't die this combat, because it's going to continually keep ticking up his health,
Consumed by the flame.
his endurance, and slowly dipping down in the health.
I could have done something. Leave it to me. Bardakin.
Come on.
You're not getting through me. Bardakin.
Don't really fancy spawning some more. There we go. Alright. Let's try looting this place up. Hey Saber, how goes it? for spitters. I think I got them all. New orders, Lieutenant. Your squad is ready.
New orders, Lieutenant. Ready your squad.
Spectral men arrayed in armor and an officer's cloak stood as a single sheet of paper. You can see straight through it to the ducal and Adra insignia on his breastplate. He seems to read the page several times before looking up at you. When he does, his expression is unreadable.
There's been a change of plans. Take your squad and march south all the way to the bow in the river. Bring a wagon team and a dozen barrels of pitch.
His voice falters and he shakes his head. Here, the hand holding the paper drops to his side. Tell me about the orders.
The instructions come from Admeth Hadred himself, which means they might as well have come from the Duke. We're to burn those hut dwellers out. Set fire to the deerwood so they've nowhere to retreat. Cut them down when they come out. Or let them blaze if they won't.
A ghostly sigh forms in mists in front of his lips. Hey, medics. It's going okay. I've just reached Seda Niwa, which I feel is going to be sort of like my home base for a while. Still a whole shit over the size of the Ark and Mechanis. I mean, when it gets so big, it's just like, it's a size.
It'll make this even shorter than the Broken Stone War, all right. And we can only hope it'll discourage future conflicts.
His mailed fist tightens around the roll paper. He looks at you.
I know this is personal for you. It is for many of us. But understand, we're doing this to end this war, not to continue the last one. Remember that we're flushing out the enemy, not burning villages for sport. Bareth will have his work cut out for him tonight.
You feel nothing when his hand drops to your shoulder. The cot is rough with splinters. Yeah, it is my first time. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Is that recent? Yeah, that's recent. Why haven't I not gotten... a moon godlike chanter.
Yes.
I wanted to go with one of the...
Those farmers by surprise.
Shush. I wanted to go with one of the classes that isn't common to a lot of other TTRPGs, so I went with the Chanter. It feels a bit like a bard, but because of the way that they've implemented it, I think that they've done a lot of things in this that are only realistically achievable in a video game, as opposed to somewhere it's like trying to make a pure adaptation of a tabletop game where things are untrackable. You know, the idea of the bard having songs that they sing over turns and then having better
Yes.
what are they called? Chanter spells to finish it off with. It's all fine and well, but it's kind of unmanageable when it comes to a tabletop game. But they did a really good job of implementing that in a video game, which is a really good way. I like it. Yeah, I wasn't I'm still not sure exactly what I'm doing a lot of the time. But yeah, it's good. I'm really liking the idea of basically being able to summon skeletons and put them in front of me, between me and the enemy. Let's save my bacon a couple of times already. Who are you?
Almost time. Di and Heather scouted the village last night. They're rounding up the rest of the party now.
See, that says Di and Heather. Die I can kind of see. Heather? Hedwr. Heather. Well, I think I can. I think I can get it, but I do not know how I'm going to pronounce things like that going forward. An elder man turns to face you. His cheeks, forearm, and cartilage of his long, pointy ears are smeared with indigo and blue paints. He grins wickedly beneath the thatch of wild hair. What party?
Don't worry. Everyone remembers the raid was your idea. The Rio had to go along with it after you'd gotten the rest of the clan riled up. No one wants it said that the Nine Claws were too cowardly to stand with the rest of the tribe when the foreigners desecrated our ruins.
His phantasmal fist sails through your shoulder. The rower? The ragged stripes of paint on his face twist as you laugh. You may not like them, but they're still our elders, for now. A dead grey tooth appears from between his lips. That was clever, drawing the support of the community first. By the time you approached the rower, they had no choice but to support us. There's no doubt you'll join their ranks one day. As long as no farmer's pitchfork fells you tonight, he laughs.
The tribes need more leaders like you. Women who value deeds over words.
The ghostly warrior gives you a long, covetous look. His semi-transparent eyes blaze as they crawl over you. He reaches towards your cheek, but stops midway, his splayed fingers quivering as a tremor of doubt runs through him.
You were right. We were too soft when the foreigners first came, and now they humiliate us.
He drops his hand.
Soft no more, and the invaders will learn to leave us alone once and for all.
He drops his hand to his side instead, drawing a notched blade from his belt.
I can get it to spill its secrets.
Let's pop this on. Not choosing summon phantom. The thing is, I don't know.
Leave us!
See, one of the things is, it's all I was tempted by the summon phantom, but I didn't. You know, it does. It's one of the failings I feel of the game where it doesn't really give you a stat breakdown of the skeletons that you get and the phantom that you could get, because it was like 3 skeletons, 1 phantom. I'll take the 3 skeletons. I'm probably going to pick up the Phantom 1 at some point, unless some other summon pops up and it's like, oh, that'll be interesting. But we'll have to see. But yeah, with no stats to go off, I was basing it off time. You know, summoning 3 skeletons lasts longer than summoning 1 Phantom, which suggests that the Phantom is really powerful. But there's more skeletons putting a line between me and the bad guy, so it works. A large, liver-spotted man, barrel-chested and paunchy, cowers in the far corner of the room. His white hair is tangled, a stringy mess. He covers his face and chest with trembling hands, unable to look in your direction.
Maybe we should come back later?
Are you Meowald? He looks up over at his hands, the muscles around his eyes twitching, and begins whispering to himself in sharp hisses, as though having an argument. All at once, he stops shaking, a sudden calmness falling over him. His head tilts forward slightly, and he looks you dead in the eye. Like a cornered animal about to pounce, his voice turns suddenly raspy.
Mayor Wald isn't here, and he isn't fooled. He has sent for no callers. Be gone, deceiving spirit.
I am a watcher. I met a woman in Gilded Veil who thought you could help me.
Mayor Wald will speak with you, but you will maintain your distance, or you'll have me to answer to.
The old man turns his body away, and another muttered, spluttering argument facing the wall, and has another muttered, spluttering argument facing the wall. When he turns back towards you, he has taken a confident stance, and his chest is puffed out like a soldier's. A new strength enters his voice.
To speak to Mayor Wald?
Meowald, whose touch is poison. Meowald, who knows not his effect.
The man's posture folds, and his hands, and the hands he'd held strongly at his side a moment ago resume their original tremors. His voice is feeble and tentative. I was told I am a watcher, and that you could help me more, and you could tell me more about it. And about a tablet of some worth. After that, once you two are finished, of course.
A window to the ether, where spirits dwell. Hear and reach into it, speak and listen through it. A watcher sees souls, reads them, knows their pasts, souls of the living, souls of the dead. An empath, and the souls see them back. Used it to help beings in both realms, did I? What the gods wanted of me, thought I.
He nods, still half distracted, eyeing the door behind you. He exhales feebly, his breath wheezing.
The gods put me in the world for vengeance, and I obliged.
With a quick spasm, his shoulders straighten and the voice becomes strong.
It was the gods' wishes that we protect those lands. My way was the only way to remove the foreigners.
He tilts his head forward, glowering at you, his voice raspy.
Little I knew.
He shrinks down and is himself once more. He cradles his face in shaking hands. I was accosted by spirits on my way here. What do they want?
No. No! Forgive me! Forgive me!
Meowald staggers backwards, staring off at some imagined phantom. He covers his mouth with his hand, his breath convulsing, his eyes red and exhausted. You seem to have lost your mind.
Lost? No. Found more of it. Too much. Too much to bear. An awakening.
Olaf's eyes narrow as he looks at the old man. How could a simple awakening have driven you to this? You mean you remember your past lives?
Something reminds. Memories stirred. Memories before birth. Other bodies. Other times. Memory. Personality. Identity. Any might resurface. Or all.
He looks again at the door behind you. And I seem to be having a conversation with several of them right now.
Ghosts of the mind. Meowald has lost control. Meowald's body no more.
He nods sheepish. The spirits I passed, what are they?
Spirits and not spirits. Always whispering to Meowald, reminding him of his mistakes. No sleep. Watchers see memories before them, form them from the essence of their own souls. Once Meowald awakened, he could not make them leave. Gave them more form, not less.
The spirits are memories from previous lives?
Troubled memories, angry memories, pulling Meowald back, reminding him his mistakes. Marauder and soldier, soldier and marauder, how could they know?
He nods, piteous look on his face. I have seen apparitions like those elsewhere since I became a watcher. Tears well in Meowald's eyes. Oh no, 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 you too? You too? All at once, in spite of his abject misery, his expression changes to one of utmost sympathy. Poor woman.
They will take you too.
Oh, what, an inevitable menace? That can't be right. Kana folds his arms. There's always an answer to be found if you look hard enough. You're saying I'll end up like you?
So fragile, the Watcher's mind. So real, his memories. Once awakened, how can he sleep?
He pouts as though holding his mouth closed so that the answer won't escape. At length he nods. Why do these past lives still trouble you?
My fault. All my fault. Soldier and marauder. Soldier and marauder and Mayorwald. No forgiveness for what's past. No undoing what's done. No sleep. No sleep for the Watcher.
He looks at you, baggy-eyed and lost.
War there was all around. War of stone. War of tree.
He is talking about two different wars fought back to back, long time ago. The Broken Stone War and the War of Black Trees. The usual conflicts between locals and settlers getting out of hand. Both of them. Some folks are still mad about one side did to the other.
Death we brought to the settler men. We, the 9 claws. Claws of 9. Worse what we did to the women. For love of the gods. The gods' love. For their love.
I met one of your memory spirits. There was talk of raiding a village? Mayorwald's voice becomes raspy, and he is somewhere else in place and time, speaking to someone unseen.
Hold her down. Head her. Give this Addy a bitch an heir that belongs in Air Glotfath.
Mayorwald cringes himself again, watching something he cannot bear to see, shaking his head over and over. He wails. His soul is marked by flame, and those marks will never heal. His trials has broken him, but better that than to live in weakness. That's enough. I don't want to know anymore. He nods, watery-eyed. There must be some way to make these memories go away.
No. Always there. Always remembered. Can't forget. Can't unsee.
I didn't just remember. Someone caused this. They wore masks and spoke of books and keys and the Queen. There was a man. He seemed familiar to me.
Keys of lead. Books of burden. Queens that were. Known to me are they. The leaden key.
The leaden key? It seems we share an enemy, Kashra. Assassins and Watcher Wakers are both. They certainly keep busy. What can you tell me about this leaden key?
Secrets. Secrets and deceptions and schemes. Who knows their answers? Not they. Not they. Crossed them before. Hatred of Watchers. Hatred and fear. Much we see. Threat to secrets.
Who is this queen they pray to?
Woodica, goddess, crown shattered and body burned. Binder of oaths and grudge holder, bearer of justice, hooves.
If a leaden key caused my awakening, could they undo it?
Many secrets do they keep. Unawakened? Mayhap. Who else if not they?
Mayewald's bushy white eyebrows edge upwards. He begins muttering to himself. Just as you are about ready to repeat your question, he speaks. Do you know where I might find the leaden key?
City of Defiance. Never far from the Queen.
I need to go so I can search for this man from the leaden key.
Sleep well. Sleep well.
Mayewald nods at you, a look of understanding on his face.
Hold. I know your will die. Your actions were seen. You would sooner betray us to the Adir land thieves than take orders from me.
Before you turn to exit, he tilts his head forward. His eyes lock with yours, cold and dangerous, his voice gravelly. Take it easy. I'm not going to betray anyone.
Your betrayal is for nothing. Your warnings are lost on these foreigners, and their blood will be Gallowayne's tribute this night. I have asked the elders for the honor of claiming your head as my first trophy, and they have granted it. Beg for the Seeker God to grant you a quick death.
Well, shit. Take care of the flame spirit. And finally Mayewald. Oh, shoot, I got knocked out. I was not paying attention. Summon skeletons!
Burn this away! Of course.
Hey.
He's one weak old man. Just murder him already. Well, we found Mayewald. I can't believe nobody's gotten the reference on Discord. I mean, they may perhaps should have paid attention to the start of his stream. But I was here on my own for quite a while. I did show off the brick. It's around somewhere. There is a change in the air of the keep. What was thick and suffocating feels to you somewhat more breathable, as though yielding to a conquering invader. Mayewald's body lies inert. You can feel his soul lingering there, uncertain. There is something unique about this soul in this place. A bond formed in decades of inhabitants and lordship that feels somehow palpable. Palpable to you, as though even in death the keep knows its former master, and the former master remembers this keep. Kashira was granted Speaker to the restless. In your mind's eye, the bond seems to you as a frayed rope, ghostly and alive. Its frayed ends writhing in like a tie pull anemones. And you find that if you concentrate on it, you have the ability to manipulate the strands. Draw upon the energy of the rope itself, siphoning knowledge from the connection. You turn both ends of the rope towards you, bringing them into contact with your essence, and as you do, the fibers turn into copper, and through them an energy is conducted into your being. You are travelling downwards now, beneath the place you stand, seeing places dank and cobwebbed and malaligned, malignant. Like some untended garden, overgrown with flora and overrun with vermin. Below everything, at the very bottom, you glimpse for an instant some being you can't quite make out, presiding over it all with a brilliant and terrifying power. One image remains in your perception, a circular room with a stone table that resembles the sun, in an area guarded by suits of armor that move of their own volition. It is deep, not far from the very bottom. There is a door in that room, invisible to all but the most fastidious of eyes, and beyond it, something shimmering, something powerful. As the image fades, you find yourself in Sade Noir once more. Meowald's soul is nowhere to be seen.
Yes.
And we all got mullered. So this is where it's bad for Ada or Alof to get into combat again. As we can see, their portraits are half dead. Therefore, they are half dead. Got a lot of things just popping up here, which is it's one of them fun little things. It's all like, bring Ada to speak with Meowald. Well, Meowald's dead, so not sure how that's going to go. Oh, Meowald's got a grimoire. We got a primal flame and some primal wind. One book lies on the table. Its pages are filled with nautical scrolls. The sickly sweet smell of rot rises from this half-eaten fruit.
Nice and quiet.
I shall make it so. It's done.
A wand. A wand.
I can get it to spill. It's done.
Hey. You cannot wait that older set? I don't want to discuss it.
There's far too many crazes around here. Yeah. Dual-spirited people, anyway. Take that for the... We just spotted an enemy, a wood beetle. Not sure how dangerous a wood beetle is, but seeing as though we're near dead, probably don't want to find out.
Aye, you're right. No sense listening to that old bam part.
Damned Virago, not now!
See, I just get the feeling that they didn't have enough for Matt Mercer to do in this game. So they had him voice this guy. Also voice this guy with two spirits. So he ends up talking twice as much. Let's see. What is this? It's 17 to 24 with a 33. I'm guessing this is slower. 0.5. No. No, they've both got the same speed. Oh, that's a scepter. Does anybody else have a wand? No, nobody else uses wands.
Hey.
I felt Meerwald's passing. You slew him.
Several of him.
It saddens me to hear it. But part of me is grateful to no longer have to wait and worry in darkness.
The steward is silent for a moment. The air seems to chill.
This place has always known its master, long as it's had one. It has a will all its own, which has little to do with the castle and much to do with the land it's built on. It looks to you as Meerwald's successor now, whether you care for it or not. A dubious honor, inheriting a fortress both broken and cursed. But in the right hands, it could be so much more. If you had only seen it in its day. Will you stay?
Meerwald said that I must go to the city of Defiance in search of the Queen. The energy seems all at once to drain from the air. I see. If it's Defiance Bay you seek, I'm sorry to tell you that you've come a long way for nothing. The eastern Barbican collapsed decades ago, and Meerwald never got around to rebuilding it. The road here is a dead end. He got as far as gathering the materials before his mind became preoccupied. I could make arrangements to have it repaired, if it is your will. When it ceased to be the previous master's will, I became powerless to do anything about it. For what am I but the master's instrument? It would take time, but far less than finding another route to Defiance Bay. What does being the master of Caeda Nua entail? Why, there are many responsibilities involved in maintaining a keep. The extent to which you wish to get involved is entirely up to you, of course. Part of the reason I am here is to ensure that things run smoothly in your absence, provided we have been given instruction. If you instruct me on which repairs you wish to conduct next, I will make the necessary arrangements. These may take some time to finish, but each will provide you with additional resources once they are complete. Given somewhere to place them, we can hire tradesmen to provide you with supplies or ingredients. Repairing the keep will raise your prestige and draw both helpful individuals and unwelcome attention from bandits and opportunists. If we can raise the keep's security in turn, these will become less of a concern. You should know, however, that the position does come with some risk. Your name will grow in fame, and you must contend with threats to the keep. And then there are other things. Was there anything else, my lady? What did you mean when you said this keep was cursed? Eowald's curse was his own, a watcher's curse, but his predecessors have not fared better. There is a presence within the keep, or rather, far beneath it. At least such has been the conclusion drawn by all who have come to this place, for what spirits still linger in the endless paths oft speak of the master below. Every effort to settle here has failed. From the time when the Adrian colonists onwards, beasts rise from the endless paths until a new lord or lady is no more. The one who dwell below this master does not tolerate rivals, it seems. I have seen, from time to time, intrepid explorers descend to lay claim to what answers they can, but none return. This is the force which has kept Caden Niwa a barren ruin and robbed me of my hopes. The endless paths, that, my friend, is where I must go, where we must go. If you will go with me, whatever devil lies beneath, think too what knowledge we will find. Perhaps this master speaks Adrian. What are the endless paths? The endless paths of Ode Nua. That was the name given to the labyrinth beneath the keep. The Earl, we were warned by the Glenfarthans that this site was cursed, and there is a legend attached to it. Though at the time we thought nothing of it. The ruins were built, it is said, by a powerful Engwethan named Ode Noir, who ruled here until his people turned against him. They destroyed his endless paths, and filled many of the upper levels with soil and stone. No one living knows how far down the tunnels stretch, and few who have ventured there have returned. There is much talk of riches and treasure, and the promise of Ingwethan ruins alone has drawn many a fortune seeker to their deaths, I fear. Who is the master below? I could not say with any certainty. I believe it must be tied to the man said to have been the architect of the endless paths, the Ingwethan tyrant Ode Nua. Some claim his spirit endures, or at least has laid a curse upon the site. I cannot imagine what remains of his work, for the ruins have been here 1,000 years or more. What's left is impressive. The Earl certainly thought so. You may have seen, while below, the hand of a great statue Ode Noir constructed. Perhaps it is a statue of Ode Noir himself. But I am not the master of Sade Noir? Of course you are. The keep would have no other, but the endless paths are a different thing entirely. It is unfortunate, really, that they are so closely entwined. If the master below is not dealt with, there will always be a threat to the keep from within. I know it is much to take in, but if you would remain, if you would master this place, then I can only advise you seek out the foe before it destroys you. I have other questions. How do I repair the Barbican? Mayewald set aside materials for the Bardakin, and they are still available to you. In the future, if you wish to make further repairs to the keep, we will need coin for supplies and labor. Time to find this queen in the city of Defiance. You must know this. You must know this queen you're looking for. Defiance Bay has no queen. The Mercwinds of Aedred haven't reigned here since the war. The only queen with any power there is Wodica. I am told they erected an exquisite temple in her honor there, but I was never able to see it. If you mean to go, we can get started right away on repairing the Bardakin. You need only tell me what you wish to do, and I will make the necessary arrangements. Mayorwald kept a ledger, as it happens, and I have taken the liberty of updating it. You could take a look, if you wish. Let me see what repairs I can make. Then we'll get underway at once. The steward's voice belies a giddy excitement. Know, my lord, that this is but the first and least of a great many undertakings. The keep supported a great many buildings and servants for many years. If, should you wish it, we can repair some of the outlying structures, and these will bring you wealth and recognition, drawing people to your service. Rebuilding defenses will keep your guards from becoming overrun, as they did under Mayorwald's keeping. You need not choose all at once. I am pledged to your aid, and so long as you are master here, we shall always be linked. You need not step once upon the grounds to speak with me. Wherever your travels may take you, you can make your own will known to me, but if you but reach out. Oh, but first, of course, the Barbican. So, I knew that this was in this game. I've really not paid too much attention to it. So what do we have? We've got a crown, and we've got a lock. I'm going to assume the crown is renowned. Prestige. And the lock is security. See, we have coin, crowns, and locks. Each of these cost a different amount and provide different things. As well as potentially providing other things. For example, the Bright Hollow lab gives me a lab inside the Bright Hollow. And takes but a day, but also requires 600 copper pieces. Turn 1, there is nothing new to report. Good stuff. There is no new event pending. You must build barracks to recruit hirelings. Oh, party management. Okay. Well, I've got no further companions. I'm guessing that there's more than 6. So the only thing that I can do is the Eastern Barbican. The Eastern Barbican gates pass to the Woodend Plains, the crossroad between Seyden and Dryford in Defiance Bay. And I do believe it is free. The Eastern Barbican construction has started. The Eastern Barbican construction is completed. Nice. I'm also guessing that it was instant because it was, plot related. See, Bright Hollow restoration. Restoring the Bright Hollow will allow you to rest there. Other upgrades can be unlock resting bonuses for it. The Western Barbican bars the passage of invaders coming across the Euthasian River. Euthasian River. I'd guess. No idea. But that requires a main keep. The Bailey houses various necessities for keeping the stronghold self-sufficient. Building this upgrade will allow you to upgrade the grounds further. The towers of Sedinua stand high above the walls of a stronghold. Upgrading the towers will grant a perception bonus while resting in Bright Hollow. The south curtain wall will provide further protection to the Bailey from invaders coming from the south. The west curtain wall will provide the Bailey with protection from forces coming from the west. The library of Sedinua contains countless volumes on ancient lore. Upgrading the library will grant a lore bonus upon resting at Bright Hollow. Upgrading the barracks will allow you to employ hirelings to defend your stronghold during attacks. The dungeons of Sedinua contain 9 cells. Upgrading the dungeon will allow you to take prisoners during your travels. Purchasing the merchant stalls will allow the merchants to sell general goods in your Great Hall. Rebuilding the craft hall arms your stronghold, providing you with the weapons and armor merchant as well as a dexterity bonus for resting at Bright Hollow. The curio shop trades in oddball curiosities, allowing you to purchase the parts of exotic creatures and generates a random creature part every turn in the stronghold treasury. The Artificer's Hall stores novel contraptions. Rebuilding it will allow you to buy traps here and to receive the mechanics bonus for resting in Bright Hollow. The chapel is a religious center of the stronghold. It will allow you to purchase scrolls from a priest and grant a bonus to resolve upon resting in Bright Hollow. The forum is where ideas and strategies are cultivated and shared. Upgrading the forum will grant an intellect bonus upon resting at Bright Hollow. The training grounds will provide a place to hone your skills in combat. Upgrading the grounds will grant a bonus to might upon resting in Bright Hollow. Upgrading the botanical garden will allow your stronghold to generate a random plant every turn in your stronghold treasury. The hedge mage provides further security by creating an obstacle for invaders coming from behind the keep. Repairing the maze will grant a bonus to stealth upon resting in Bright Hollow. The Warden's Lodge watches over the wilds near the stronghold. Upgrading a lodge will grant a bonus to survival skill upon resting at Bright Hollow, as well as provide access to a warden who offers high-level bounties. The woodland trails surround the domain of your keep. Upgrading them will grant both a bonus to Constitution and athletics bonus when resting at Bright Hollow. Bright Hollow Hearth, a home is only as comfortable as its hearth. Restoring yours may return a semblance of order to the keep. Purchasing this upgrade will restore a lab inside Bright Hollow. Purchasing this upgrade will repair the courtyard pool inside Bright Hollow. That's a lot of things. And I kind of want them all. So I want the Bright Hollow restoration. And the main keep. Oh. Only one thing can be done at once. Okay. Still. We got some renowned, prestige, and some security for doing the eastern Barbican. And now I have access to this button. I didn't expect this amount of base building stuff in this game. Well, maybe you should have read the blurb about the game. I knew that this was here, and I also know about the endless maze below it. That's all I know, is that it's an endless. As part of the Kickstarter, one of the stretch goals was actually every so many thousands, another so many levels got extended onto the endless dungeon. Seems a bit more on the level than yeah, it seems a lot clearer. It seems a lot less nope, can't think of the better word, fannying around than Pathfinder Kingmaker. It's only got like 2 values that it checks, which is prestige and security. do kind of wonder what's in here. I could do with a place to rest. Spiders have taken up residence in the empty shelves. I'm guessing this is a library. Or was a library. The map shows that the Direwood's old colonial borders. A settlement called New Dunrin is marked the place of present-day Defiance Bay. No idea about that reference, Saber. Assuming it's a reference. Well, the problem is I've not been able to instantly repair the place where I can rest. And I desperately need to rest.
Bit just like your breeches, scholar lad.
I beg your pardon?
Nothing. I said nothing.
Or can I rest in here? Or can I just look around at what a sorry state this place is in? And sour odours of rancid grain and spoilt fruits permeate the air. Dust and rusted utensils cover the countertop. Rats skitter among the broken stairs. Shelves creak under the books. Many of the covers are mottled with mildew. Cobwebs bind the remains of a broken almanac, cracked mortar, and various shattered bottles and vials on the table. Can I rest in here? Camping is not allowed in this area. Okay. It's not. It's just me making a joke. Okay, fair enough. So this place is now mine. Can I rest out here? You have no camping supplies. Of course I don't, because I've eaten them all. Alright, people want to actually speak to me. I've just remembered. Right. How does one speak to these people?
Poor Meerwald. He couldn't contend with all that he knew of himself. A cruel fate.
I don't think knowledge was the problem. You said that if I could find out what caused this, it might help me. This is true, but there is no such thing in my experience as too much knowledge. Kinda smiles. Come, we'll find your answers, and mine, I hope. Alof seems lost in thought. He flinches when you draw near, sucking in a sharp breath through his teeth.
What can I do for you?
You can start by explaining what's going on.
I wish I could, but as to walking memories and the old man who can no longer distinguish them from reality, I fear I'm at a loss.
His lips twitches into a flat smile.
And if Meerwald is to be believed, it would seem you've an uncertain future ahead.
I don't know what to think.
Perhaps perhaps Defiance Bay holds the answers we need.
Olaf snugs his cloak about his shoulders, glancing at you out the corner of his eye. I want to discuss something else. That is all. I kind of hoped that he was going to talk about himself a little.
That old Watcher. I don't know what I expected, but it sure wasn't that.
How are things going? They're going okay. Welcome in, Mike, by the way. Sorry, I was distracted. Thank you for the shout out, J-Station, for Magcat. Carol needs a good bed and a bite to eat. In-game mainly. It's how everybody is kind of, well, seriously injured. And I need to rest, but I have no supplies to rest. You said you had some things you wanted to ask him.
Nah, it's kind of embarrassing now. I just got a dumb idea in my head is all. Don't know why I thought it'd work. That's funny. That's probably the first thing I got my hopes up for in, I don't know, years. At least I got that out of it.
What was it?
Alright. Yes, fair is fair, and you did bring me to see him. Those rumors back in Gilded Veil about my brother, Woden. About how he turned against us and fought for Widewind. Been on my mind for some time now. The thing about Woden was, he always knew what was right, and that's what he'd do. One day he set out to fight for Deerwood against a man claiming to be our god. So I knew that's what I had to do too. He was right. Hearing claims that he died fighting for Ray at Saris, that got me worried. Not that he'd chosen the wrong side, but that I had. Didn't seem right what Widewind had in store, but if he really was Aethys, I thought maybe this old Watcher would know how my brother died, so I could see if it was true. Like he could, I don't know, read it in my soul or something. Use our connection. Told you it was dumb.
Why didn't you ask me for help? I don't know, because I didn't know you, and it's hard to trust a stranger that says she's a Watcher.
Of course, I knew the truth deep down. The Watcher's not psychic. I think I just had this idea, and the idea made me feel a certain way, and I didn't want to lose that.
Really, if I wanted to find out about my brother, I should have started with the Watchers. I shouldn't be starting with the Watchers. I should be starting with records. So, why don't you? Edda thinks for a moment. His lips twist to one side. He raises an eyebrow. If there's anything written down about it, they'd have it in Defiance Bay. They got an archive at the palace.
You've done a lot for me already, but if you could see fit to pay that archive a visit with me, well, you know. Knowing my luck, the records clerk will go crazy and try to kill me. I'd feel better with you in there with me.
Certainly.
Okay, folks, that was all very nice and chit-chatty, but that did not help with the problem of, you know, we're terribly, terribly injured. That genuinely sounds like a response that you would give. Which response was that? So that's taking us back to the Woodend Plains, which is not somewhere that I can get food. Or it might. Well, let's go to the Gilded Veil. At least I know in the Gilded Veil. When you said, why didn't you ask me? And they said, I don't know, I don't know you, I didn't think asking you would help, or whatever they said. Right, we're back in the Gilded Veil. We don't well, there's one place, there's down here, and I don't know if it's going to send me down there at some point, or whether I'm just expected to explore down there. It looks like it could do with being re-gilded. Nope, no idea what you're going on about, Joy Station. There's a lot of that going on at the moment. I might be tired and just not understanding people. Maybe J Station's right when he mentioned, you know, tired.
Welcome.
I would like to see what you have for sale. I would like to sell off some shite. Because this gives you access to an infinite store of item places, it really does encourage hoarding. Kind of looks pretty the way that it all just siphons off though. Whee! Oh, the Gilded Veil looks a little bit toned down where you were showing me. Oh yeah, that's where there was a church or temple of some variety to someone or something. So I bought supplies. And they got a room. And I'm gonna take the laborer's rest and rest up. Yeah, handy for making money, although it's one of them where it's like I'm not entirely sure exactly. Oh, interesting. We've got Spirit Shield. Surrounds combat the caster with a shield of spirit energy, granting increased damage reduction and a concentration bonus. Damage reduction and concentration for nearly a minute. I would like to learn that. And what's this? Thrust of Tattered Veils. Nope, nope. I want to know about it first. A quick strike of crushing force, dealing little damage but having a high chance to disrupt enemy spellcasters. The interruption is high but the damage is low. I think I'll take that as well. We got a third level spell over here, Fireball. Who doesn't want that? And what do we have here? Bulwark against the elements, plus 15 damage reduction on burn, shock, corrode, and freeze for about a minute. Might be useful. And Conceal Haunt's Corrosive Siphon. Eats away at the target spirit, inflicting corrosive damage and converting that essence into endurance for the caster. Sounds a bit nasty, but I don't think I need too many more. I mean, that one's definitely useful. See, the ray of fire is nice, but it's really awkward to use because it's quite literally drawing a line from you to the bad guy or for wherever you target it, and anybody in that line can take damage, which is fine and great when there's nobody in the way. But as a mage who stands at the back, it tends to be a little bit more difficult. So I might... See, I could drop that in favour of that. I do like the necrotic lance, and I do like combusting wounds. I'll leave it for now. Alright, where's your tome? Alright, let's go up to here. Let's get rid of that and put in the spirit shield. Let's get rid of the ray of frost and put in the bulwark against the elements. And let's put in fireball. Because who doesn't love fireball? And I love the way that it's I'm actually looking at Ludren's grimoire, not my own. Because I got so many spellbooks. Don't know who to give that to. Could give it to myself. You know what, give it to this guy. If it ever comes up.
Hey.
But yes, but no, it is pretty much indicative of the entire place. I mean, everything in this town is sort of like rotting and dying, and it's not a great place to be. You know, there's a hanging tree, which is kind of like the local center point with a good number of corpses on them. This is a temple to some deity that I'm struggling to remember if the deity wanted to destroy the town, or kill the people, or fought a war against them by siding with the other guys. So they destroyed the temple here and they intend to redesecrate it to some other god. But that's in Lord Rerik's. They have a tree that people love to hang out at. No, they don't love to hang out there. They just end up hanging out there as somebody ties a rope around their necks and drops a noose. But there is sort of like this underground area to it. And I don't know if it gets pointed out in a quest or anything. Who's Wharton? The rising sun seen of 3 dawn stars, the symbol of the Euthas.
Haven't been in here for must be 5-6 years. Used to be real nice. Bright. Warm.
Man lies resting against the wall, lit in the dim illumination of the fading sconces. He has a gaunt, fox-like aspect. His face is pale and damp with sweat. One arm is held loosely against his side, sleeve soaked with blood. He gives you an anxious glance as you near, his features twisted with pain.
Good day to you.
Why does that say godlike there? Oh, I'm a godlike. He's saying this because I'm godlike. Ha, thought you were some... Never mind. Whoever you are, you've travelled a long way to reach a dark place. His temple isn't what he used to be, probably for the best, times being as they are. He groans and shifts position, wincing. I'm no looter, if that's what you're thinking. Not one of the faithful either. Just wanted to do some good, I suppose. Got my arm clawed up for it. He regards you warily. Maybe you'll have better luck. Better luck with what? The man points a finger upwards. These ruins around us. There used to be a temple of Euthas, the scattered god. A grand temple at that. His worshippers would come from all over the Direwood, from Seras, even. Reed Seras. Not much for Reed Seras these days. Until the war, of course. Even then, you get some of the stubborn ones, the ones that couldn't get it through their heads that their god was dead and gone. Go on. Once the legacy started, Lord Rhetoric decided he'd been too lenient on the Euthasians. He had his people go in and put them to the sword. Left them down there, buried underneath a heap of rock. After that, Rhetoric ordered the temple sealed. It's been years like that up until recently. Lord Rhetoric hopes that if we rededicate the temple to a living god, then we'll be forgiven, and the legacy will end. See? He smiles wryly. But until then, the temple is as you see it, unguarded. That's where you come in. Werton lips his licks. Those priests, maybe they didn't have the sense between them, but they didn't deserve to go like that. Chopped down in their own god's house? That don't sit right with me. If you can get down there, find their remains, maybe you can finally give them a proper burial. Werton breathes out. No more small tasks. There's coin in it for you, if you need motivating. Luft's cautious expression softens. A pleasant surprise to see someone around here with a shred of respect for the dead. I take it you aren't supposed to be in here. Werton laughs bleakly. Well, I meant to be in and out, nice and quick. I'm not hurting anyone. It's just Lord Rhetoric's forbidden anyone from having anything to do with the scattered god. It'd be a little hard for me to explain to him, harder to explain to him than you. It's a good cause though, isn't it? And you'll be making some coin in the process. Wait, you want me to bring you some skeletons? I'd bury them where they are if I could. I know it's a little macabre, but if we don't get them out now, Rhetoric's liable to destroy whatever's left of them. I'll find them. Then by the flame, I owe you a good turn. But listen, the temple's been sealed off for so long, it's crawling with creatures. But if you get past them, the priest would have been down on the lower floor. They'll be there still, if they're anywhere. Those priests had all kinds of secret chambers, switches in the walls, trick sconces, that kind of thing. Keep an eye out and take care down there. I won't want to have to send someone else after your remains. I'll wait here by the stairs and keep a lookout. Maybe try to patch myself up some. So you get pointed to this place inside of this place, so you have to come down here just curiously. I mean, kind of makes sense.
Let's have it out! I shall deal with this one.
Not quite.
Let's have it out! Let's have it out! These ones are in for a...
Not want you. Let's.
Throw us 10.
Hey.
I do a lot with lighting in this.
Not believe
parchment is worn and tattered, the ink upon it faded. In this time of hardship, we must have just as much faith in ourselves. Graphically, it seems better than Pathfinder Kingmaker. I do feel that it is a bit graphically better than Pathfinder Kingmaker, but it still has this weird... anytime that they do this, where it's a pre-rendered background, or what feels to be a pre-rendered background, so you can see that this flooring and everything looks nice, it looks hand-drawn, and very well done. Don't get me wrong. But at the same token, you then stick a 3D model on top of that, and the 3D models kind of stick out a bit, I feel. But no, graphically, it's pretty good. And I find it does, you know, back in that other room, there was something it did with the lighting, which I felt, you know, Pathfinder Kingmaker never did. And was a good touch.
Leave it to me.
That isn't to point out the third dimension, you know. Just stick out. Isn't that the point in the third dimension, to stick out?
I can't move.
Ironically, I was watching some FF9 remastered today, and the models are refined and detailed, and the pre-rendered backgrounds are blurry and squidgy. Yeah, I think to a certain degree that's the, you know, the main thing that I won't say irks me, but feels a little bit jarring is like the difference between rendering techniques, and it's no matter where you get it. You know, it used to happen a lot in old cartoons where it was 3D animation, where you could definitely tell where they tried to put effort into what looked detailed, but the backgrounds were sort of like pre-rendered and partially drawn in, even if it was inside the same software, whereas the 3D models just looked a little out of place. And the same applies here, because there's two different rendering styles. There's a pre-rendered and there's a 3D generated, and just always looks like it stands out. And yes, Meghead, it is a point of it standing out, but at the same token, you know, it'd be nicer if it just blended in a little bit better. Was not expecting that spirit to appear. The nearby crystals light the cracked mosaic floor in shades of orange, and at certain angles, the metallic symbol beneath your feet gleams gold. As you look on, the air shimmers as if with heat. The very dust and air seems to pull together until a thin, glowing mist appears before you. In its rippling gleam, you sometimes think you can see the shape of the men, features rendered in broad strokes of air and smoke. Who are you? Your voice sparks movement. The spirit surges with a sudden blazing light, and in the next moment you are somewhere else, your mind assailed with a sudden wave of fear and noise. You are in a chapter hall. Priests and faithful have gathered in a great crowd, spilling into the hall. Bodies press against you, surging forward to listen. Your own grief is mirrored in the faces around you. Some of the initiates are weeping. Someone has snuffed the candles, and the room is dark save for the podium, lit from behind. Two people stand before it, lit in silhouette. A man is shouting, voice so ragged with fear you cannot understand what he says. But the rectrix stands calm, unmoved. Her strength will see you all through these dark times. You feel hope that like a spark behind your ribs. You feel that hope like a spark behind your ribs. Somewhere behind you, someone begins to sing. The spirit tears itself from you with a sudden dizzying force, and you find yourself back before the ruined altar, swaying. The spirit fades, and suddenly it reappears.
What have we here?
Secrets. The face of this statue has most of its features struck off, along with portions of its hands. I shouldn't actually put into here potions, because I will forget about them. I think the oil and spirits can stay in there though. Gilded Veil and Scolders.
Leave it to me!
Monsters of the Dead Fire Archipelago. The archipelago winds its way between the Eastern Ocean, the Great Eastern Ocean, and the Restless Ocean. Hundreds of small islands in the midst of the water. Few dare brave its treacherous rapids, and few still have returned to tell tales of their adventures through it. Travel between the two oceans is virtually impossible. Great storms hammer any ships foolhardy enough to attempt to navigate, and this alone should be enough to deter anyone from attempting the voyage, as untold ships have gone down, tossed against the rocks. The weather and the treacherous rocks are only a precursor to the actual horrors of the archipelago, the terrors of the deep. No one knows how many creatures stalk the oceans, waiting for unsuspecting sailors to drift into their waters. But we do know of some. Barbed Ravager, a great shark that is known to ram passing vessels, trying to knock sailors off the deck and smash a hole in the hull. It has tremendous spines protruding down the side and back that are presumed to be poisonous. The largest sighted barbed Ravager, with survivors, was estimated to be almost 30 feet long. Winding Serpent, smaller than the Ravager, but potentially longer. The Winding Serpent attacks in small packs, usually 3 to 8. They have long, sharp heads, somewhat reminiscent of a barracuda. Like the Ravager, they repeatedly slam into the side of a ship, hoping to crack a hole in it or knock someone from the deck. They have also been known to swim into the depths and shoot up out of the ocean, landing on the deck, coiling and winding their way around, snapping up any crew they can before plunging back into the ocean. Leviathan. Imagine the largest whale you have ever seen. The Leviathan... I pronounced it there. Struggling here. The Leviathan is at least 10 times that size. By the time a ship sees a Leviathan, it is already too late. As they rise from the depths, the water around them begins to spin and sink, creating a whirlpool. The Leviathan's body surrounds the hapless vessel, preventing escape, and as it goes down, the enormous mouth opens, pulling all aboard to their watery deaths. Polpovry. All the creatures you've read about in this book are nothing compared to the Polpovry. Barely the size of a man, what they lack in size and strength they make for in numbers and terrifying viciousness. Their lower halves are a mass of tentacles like octopus or squid, but more numerous. The tentacles are long, black whips with suction cups on the underside and small thorny barbs on the top. The sheer number of tentacles gives them frightening speed when they walk on land, pulling themselves forward almost as fast as a running horse. While they vaguely resemble human from the waist up, any extended examination proves how wrong that assumption is. Long, stringy hair, black hair, falls from the top of their heads to cover the face taken directly from a nightmare. A wide, gaping mouth cuts across the bottom of its head from ear to ear, full of wicked dagger-like teeth. 2 large, round eyes are sunken into its head, black as coal, shining with a malevolent fire. A small antennae protrudes from the middle of its forehead, ending in a small nodule that can glow with an eerie blue light. One can imagine a sailor on deck. Oh my word! One can imagine a sailor on the deck of his ship at night, looking out across the black water, blood freezing as countless lights appear beneath the surface, rising towards him as a pulpover swarm upwards. Because it seems to be more occupous than men, they can collapse in on themselves, fitting between spaces no person should be able to. The smallest crack in the hull, the slightest separation between boards offers them entrance. It is not unknown for them to slaughter an entire crew from hold up to the deck by infiltrating the ship from underneath. Fortunately, they do not seem to have spread too far outside the archipelago, but there may come a day when pulpovery attacks become commonplace. And what's interesting about that, or what's interesting about some of this, is Pillars of Eternity 2 has something to do with Deadfire. I think it's called Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire, but it might be something else. I can't remember. But it definitely has Deadfire in there. And some coin. Oh, thank God for that. Skull tongue. Oh no, skull ear.
That's
it!
A fine sword. I don't remember reading these books. Behold, thou faithful, the visage of thy transformation. Fear not the journey when the portal opens. Become one with the wheel, with glad of heart and cheerful countenance, for the doorway shall open for all in time. Neither the rich nor influential, neither kings nor rulers, neither the strong nor powerful can escape its embrace. I have read this. Barath will usher thee unto the doorway, thee through the doorway, and thou wilt return to life, thy mortal life begun anew. Where goeth the cycle, there goeth life. There thou goest also. Thou shalt approach the door, the inevitable shall approach thee. Do not turn back on the portal, do not turn back on new life. Walk the path and welcome change, or face the night. For he walks the road with thee and will guide all to their destination. Thou mortal, the skull thou wilt become. Thou closed off, the key thou shalt turn. Thou sealed, the threshold thou shalt cross. And another couple of years. prayer scrolls are coated in a thick layer of grime and dust.
I shall make it so. It's done.
It spared the candle flame, it seems, so their prayers go unanswered. I've read that one previously. This small volume of verses and psalms is somewhat battered, suggesting it used to be carried on someone's person. The pages are dog-eared and worn, and the gold threads from which form the title of the book have begun to fray. The book tends to open to a particular section where someone has marked a verse with a small blotch of ink. Ednung, the bright star, spoke, and her voice was like a clarion call, calling his soul forth. He knew her for the right hand of the shining god, and was afraid. O wanderer, hear me, she spoke. You are known to us, and your deeds put you far from salvation. And he wept, for he knew that his sins lay bare before this great illumination. Then Sargamas spoke, and his voice swept forth with the heat and force of the bright day's sun. Weep not, for the child of light has forgiveness even for you, if you will embrace him. Harmech knelt before them, then resolved to save himself, and asked what he must do. And Modgund spoke. Her voice was like the songbird's final hymn, bidding farewell to the day's light. What darkness lies within you, you must cast into his light. Your sins will be burned from you until you are newly formed, reborn into his keeping. So Modgund spoke, but Ednung warned him, saying, You have walked all these years into darkness, and must now return. You will find the path like treading fire, and at every step you will be tempted to turn away. But no harm will come to you if you keep your faith. I can't access that from this side, so keep to the right.
Where they me too.
Parathis!
Vermin have scoured all these plates, though mold still grows in green-black clumps across the table. These collapsed stones are pocked with burrows and narrow crevices, claw marks and dung marks the passage of beasts.
My blood burns.
Hey.
The doors to the lower floor appear to be sealed with some enchantment. There is a set of bells beside the door which may play a part in opening it. Love the way that I've just looked at it and know precisely that that's
see what I can find.
Ooh, a ring of overseeing. Plus 10% ability area of effect. Nice. I already have 2 rings. That'd be nice. Fireballs, 10% bigger. Yeah, keeping right.
Leave it to me.
So some skeletons back there. The haze fills the air, coalescing steadily into a blur of dust and mist. It gathers into the outline of what appears to be a dwarf, a shimmering echo that fades in and out of sight. But stronger than sight is a sense within you of a powerful energy. It roils and seethes with a grief that seems to spill into your own thoughts, tainting them until the sorrow is your own. Like a crashing wave, the energy surges towards and into you, and suddenly you are elsewhere. Before you is a brightly lit stone corridor, lined with torches and gleaming crystals. You're running, your footsteps echoing off the stone around you. You forgot to tie your sandals, and they are slipping from your feet, fouling your steps. You're late. Again. The rite is going to begin without you. You hear the tolling of a bell, and your spirits lift as you recognize the familiar warped tone of the right hand, representing the first of the dawn stars to appear in the night sky, and the last to fade in dawn's light. In the dawn light. You pray fiercely that it is the first of the chimes and not the last. I have a feeling that this is something to do with the order of sequence of those bells. So, right hand. Struck twice. First and last? You pray fiercely that this is the first of the chimes and not the last. Is that the chimes of the bell or the chimes of them all? Who knows? The light fades, as does the memory. When your eyes clear, the spirit is gone. Well, that didn't help that much, did it? The powerful odor of spices rises from one of these dishes. Vibrant dyes and grain seeds fill the others. This parchment is relatively intact, but the ink upon it has faded. You can make out a few patches of carefully tidy strips. Visitors to the ritual floor. Rhetoric Obrica says, Redemption for even these. Or got and struck the largest bell first, rather than second. The rest is illegible. So the largest bell is second. Because I'm guessing that says forgot and struck the largest bell first rather than second, rather than or got. Because or got isn't a word, I don't think. Somebody Google that. Is all got a word? I doubt it. And supplies! We can't have any more supplies. We paid for them. Foolishly. Nope, you're all out of order.
You're not.
Let the fighter in. Run away. Does a runaway don't attract more of them?
Most inconvenient. That's it.
Nope, not a real word that I can find. Fair enough. Didn't think it was. But it's one of them, it's all like, I am no Thespian? Is that the right word? I might take some Googling. So it's like, I don't know exactly. Mother, I have asked Brother El Edric to carry this letter to you, for he travels to New Hiomar come morning. With him goes what coin I have, and I hope it will ease the surprise of an unexpected homecoming. For I mean to follow in a few days' time. Our village is much changed, and though I do not wish to worry you, I do not feel it is safe to remain. I know Rhetoric Obrica will not approve, but the letter trails off. Whoever sat here left in a hurry. Ink has dripped across the scroll, obscuring its contents. The pile of furniture is branded with scorch marks. I've discovered a secret.
What have we here?
I mean, that's useful. So, all I know is the right hand twice at a guess, first and last. The largest bell is second, which would assume that the middle bell is... the left bell is third. Thespian? Thespian is more for actor, actress, I think. I thought Shakespeare was known as a Thespian. And that could have been, I would have thought that it would have been more a writer of plays and or acts and or a master wordsmith. I didn't think it was associated with individual actors and actresses. So anyway. 3 bells hang from the stone protrusions that run along this wall. Years of dust and grime coat the metal. There is one larger bell at the centre, flanked by 2 smaller ones. Examine the bells. Does nothing for me. The bells appear to be fully intact. They are made of thick iron and look very heavy, but it doesn't appear to be much of an out of the ordinary about them. Thespian is a fancy word for actor. Since this word is referred to Thespis, the guy who first took the stage in ancient Greek, you can feel real scholarly using the word Thespian. You know, the word Thespian is sometimes capitalized because it is taken from the person's name. Fair enough. Shows what I know about words. Does that really come as a surprise to anybody? Okay, so we want the right bell first. Then the middle bell. Then the left bell. Then the right bell. The particular chime rings through the ruins. The peculiar chime rings through the ruins. There is quite a melodic chime from all 3 bells before their discordant voices meet in one powerful rising rush of sound. It seems to fill the whole temple, a driving flood of song that drowns all other thought. As the tolling fades, you hear the crack from the direction of the doors, as the passage to the lower level swings open. Dum dum da. And down we go.
It's strange looking back. All the time I spent here growing up. Never seeing what was coming.
I'll see what I can find. Vereathus! Leave it to me!
Where?
Leave it to me! This.
You're not getting through me.
Following your lead. Your tail ends here.
You're not getting through me. Hi?
We need skellybobs. We need more skellybobs.
Stand.
We got lots of skellybobs.
Not believe.
Leave it to me!
All right then.
Oh, it ain't half creepy down here.
Where they feel
Betrayed! And declares a phantom. Take out the phantom.
Leave it to me.
Let's have some skilly bobs back now. Do you like the way that the shadows at the start of combat are sort of like blinking out of existence when appearing closer? It is not within our natures to forgive. Those who seek redemption seek a long and winding path, a road which takes us down into the very hollows of our soul, and asks us to reflect upon the fracturing aspects of ourselves. Shh. I just want the loot.
Now here's
Thank you.
something.
Because as much as all this religious speak is very interesting, it ain't half long-winded. See, I can't see into this room. I don't know where the entrance is, but that certainly screams of something that's gonna spit fire at me.
Hey.
Where they seal.
Blast!
You're not getting through me.
What have
Hey, we actually managed to detect a trap. Ooh, ring of minor protection. The scroll of minor letters and minor missiles, and Jasper.
I shall make it so. It's done.
And a fine pack. You can have the ring, because I don't really know what else to give it to right now. That's interesting. Whatever ability you've got actually gives you access to a third weapon set.
Where they
A lot of them.
Me too.
That we just mullered.
Stand still. Let's leave some reminders.
Leave it to me.
Where they seal.
We got more scallybobs. Which there was a way of telling it not to bother interrupting the flow of the game with the Scallybobs getting very heavily injured or the Scallybobs dying.
Now here's something.
Because I kind of want them alerts for party members who, you know, are important. Cloak of the Euthasian priest. And select everybody. And what? Where the hell did you come from? Run away!
Hey.
Yes.
I'm in severe amounts of pain. I am actually in a lot of pain.
It's done.
Oh?
Hey.
What do you mean, oh? I'm putting you at the back because you're
Let's
terribly
see what
injured.
lies this way.
No. Is there a quick button for this? Right alt. Right alt, left alt. Okay. So I'd rather not rest down here, because, you know, resting in dusty old tombs seems like a terrible idea. Ah, it just knocked me behind us. Is it attacking me?
Hi?
No, it's not. Okay. Oh, once per rest allows the healing of a small amount of health on an ally. Let's have some skellybobs.
Following your lead.
Of course.
Oh, endurance got totally KO'd. You hear a grinding noise beneath your feet and the rush of water. Oh, it just emptied out of that.
Hey.
I shall make it so. It's done.
Hey. Hey.
That's a black oozes. And ghosts.
That's it.
You're not getting through me.
Got you.
Some skellybobs. And some skellybobs.
Stand still.
You attack that one.
Hey.
You lot attack that thing.
Yeah.
You guys attack
These
that.
ones are in for a walloping.
Hey. You're not. right then.
Icky stuff. The still dark waters are as reflective as black glass. How big is this place?
Parathis!
Had to try something else.
That's not very helpful.
You do that thing. No, Google, go away. There we go.
Yes?
Murder the Skull King. Oh no, they killed one of my skeletons. Hey, Retro Ted and friends. Greetings and salutations. Hey, Zimmer Games. Thank you for the raid, Retro Ted. How was Icewind Dale? Ooh. Of Resolve +1 of Perception +1. Interesting. It looks to be going back upstairs. I don't want to be going back upstairs just yet. Hey Krifu, how's it going? Welcome everybody from Retro Ted Raid. I have a feeling that I know most of you, but if not, welcome to my channel. I play a variety of games over here. Ranging from basically anything that takes my fancy. I do tend to favor role-playing games. This is a third isometric role-playing game played on this channel. We found it in Salvador's Fort. We finished the Severed Hand. How did you find the Severed Hand? I think I mentioned this the last time you streamed. I like the Severed Hand. But I do also play other games here. Hitman 3, Prey, and Hitman 3 is a game, and Prey is a separate game. It sounded like I rolled them into one, Hitman 3 Prey, and it was like, what? I don't mind the long haul games, although, you know, I do like to mix it up with shorter games. It sounds like you're getting mullered in there. You are getting mullered in there. This is bad. Summon the skeletons!
Might need some help.
All of the skeletons! These skeletons are a tough little bunch. Did that help? How are we winning? I think we're winning. Pray to Hitman. The Prelators of Eternity.
Alright then.
I was just saying the story is really kicked off now. May I say I'm enjoying the game more than Baldur's Gate at the moment? You can say that. I think one of the things about Icewind Dale is because you're creating all of the party on your own, the story has to be good because you're not directly involved with it, so it's got to draw you in. With Baldur's Gate, it's like, yeah, you're being hunted. And you're pulled into the story of Baldur's Gate whether you like it or not. With Icewind Dale, it has to be more written in a way that it's like, here is a story, please get involved. I kind of prefer Baldur's Gate myself, but that's because I really got engaged with the story from the get-go. And although, it's pulling you in and you don't have a choice in the matter, I did feel that it was an engaging story that I enjoyed. But I can totally see why people favor Icewind Dale. There's also the other fact that Baldur's Gate, it's a little bit obscure in places. You're not quite sure how everything links together because it's not really about you. It's about the politics that's going on in the world. Whereas Icewind Dale is like, if the story's there, it has to engage you. Be curious how you feel about Baldur's Gate when it comes to finishing off the epic saga with Baldur's Gate 2 and the Throne of Baal. But also to see what you think of Icewind Dale 2. I could never get into Icewind Dale 2. I do not know why. I tried it a few times, but just could not get there. A crumpled note. This letter is fairly intact, though the parchment itself has been crumpled. Gister, I know that the temple baths boast great healing properties, and that your back ails you still. Still, I would ask that if you are to indulge for the greater part of the day, you give over your key to the sanctum to someone else for safekeeping. This is not the first time we've been forced to wait to perform the day's rites, and Rhetoric Oberraker is often too far below to hear our knocking. Euthasian Prayer. And the sun shall break through the darkness, and the new dawn arriving with the rebirth of the day. Rejoice, all ye who dwelleth in the shadow, who are broken and beaten. The winter soon comes to an end. Spring shall rise, bringing light and life to the world. Radiant life, radiant life. And thy soul shall find warmth in his arms. All creatures bask in his glory, and the rays of his countenance bathe the world, bringing an end to the night, ushering in the day. Kneel before him and wonder at his benevolence. Feel the warmth of his radiant presence. If thou art broken, he shall make thee whole. If thou art in darkness, he shall bring thee to the light. If thou art sinful, thou shalt be reborn. If thou art cold, his warmth shall bolster thee. How canst I, so lowly and worn, speak words of proper adulation? Thine eyes, whose gaze sees the sins in me, yet still shows love. Thine hands, whose grip pulls me out of darkness. Thine ears, listening to my every prayer. Thine heart, bright as the dawn, giving me warmth when I am raw. Eothas, light of spring, sun of the world, thou givest me life and purpose. Thine heart be black, if thine intention be impure, thy life is forfeit. For he hath thieved For he hath seen. He can see, he will see. Nothing is hidden from his glory. His light touches every corner of the world. Nothing is hidden from his sight. If thou doeth, if thou doeth thy work in the dark, if thou wouldest keep thine actions hidden, thou shalt be burnt in the sun of the new dawn. Day comes soon. Prepare for the dawn. Nothing is hidden from his reach. And if that doesn't give me a speechless impediment, they brought a whole batch of and had to fit it in somewhere. Oh. It's just one of them where it's like, I appreciate the writing style, kind of gives it that whole ye olde feely to it, but at the same token, I think sometimes they overplay it. And I've just remembered Idra is really seriously injured. Run away! You're crazy enough to do it. Switch weapons. You tank! You're only a wizard. Nope, still can't bring out the skeletons.
Spot on.
Now we get skeletons. Although it's a bit late. And somebody lets off the gun. It's fine.
Of course.
Gleaming silver key. I missed a door over here. Maybe it was locked. Or it was a solid wall. I have a feeling that it was a solid wall. But yeah, I appreciate that they bring a certain style by putting in these and the thines and that kind of thing. Ah, there's a lever here. There's a screech of metal and a snapping noise as you pull the lever.
Following your lead.
I'm sending in you first.
Never to help kill my god again.
When the words tank and wizard are used in the same sentence, one can only surmise it'd be interesting. Brief, but interesting. I actually used to, in D&D 5th edition, play the tanking wizard. It was a terrible idea. It was badly made. And I went down like a sack of spuds. But at the same token, I could hold my own for 1 or 2 rounds before hitting the dirt. There are certain builds in other games that allow for that kind of thing, but D&D was not really one of them, not by pure classing a wizard anyway. The light rises. I nearly started with the th again. The light rises from the bones as you approach. You have a moment to register the faintest image of a standing figure. Features a blur of mist or smoke before the world tilts. It is as if you have stepped sideways and into a new life. You are racing down a flight of stairs, following a weaving circle of torchlight. Your own panting breaths are loud in your ears. Panic and your robes alike foul your steps, and you nearly stumble before a hand reaches out to grip your arm and steady you. a fellow acolyte, who smiles encouragement as you reach the bottom. You run around and past the shallow reflection pool that marks the lowest point of the temple, following the dark shapes of the older priests that as they lead the way towards a narrow hall that leads to the vault. You pass one of the torchbearers as you go. The harsh illumination of the flames reveals a familiar face. For a moment your awareness spans time and identity, and you think of Wittran Rittan has joined you here at the bottom of the temple. In the memory, he glances at you for a moment, and then looks past at someone else. I'll come back once they're gone, he says. You're being passed along by the crowd, and the words are growing faint. Just keep quiet. We can't take any chances. Inside the vault, golden relics gleam like welcoming stars. The memory twists, jarring you loose from one moment and plunging you into another like a flung doll. Only the darkness around you now. You think yourself blinded until the knowledge settles onto you like a cloak. The candles have all burnt away. You know now, too, with the sick certainty that nobody is coming. There is a cracking noise somewhere to your left, a wet, slurping gurgle, and a ragged sob. You cannot see, and so you cannot know which brother or sister has fallen, and which digs after what water a body may provide. You hear, in the faint murmuring to your right, a familiar cadence of prayer, but you no longer recognize the words. You are too tired to do harm. The thirst is like fire within you, your tongue is thick in your throat, and every breath is a struggle that leeches strength from you. There is a light, they said, at the end of every bout of darkness, but this one does not end. The spirit releases you and you come back to yourself in pieces. Your vision clears and the vault around you reveals once more, cast in muted hues by the sickly illumination of a soul that drifts like fading fog. Fear wafts off the spirit in waves, fraying at your own emotions. Yes, I used to play a lot of D&D before Xanathars was a thing, and that's when I tried to make the Tanking Wizard. Should be a points thing to add to the words as you read. I'd never remember to do it. Also, I can barely read as it is. Do you want to add more complexity by putting at the end of everything? I'm sorry. I hope you find some peace in the next life. The spirit seems to withdraw into itself. You sense less of its fear and confusion as it recedes, but the soul lingers still. No matter how many times I see you staring off at nothing, it doesn't get any less weird. Gather the remains. You spend a few moments gathering up what you can find of the bones of the priests. It proves a heavy and gruesome burden, but you manage to recover them all. Some of the gold leaf on these relics is chipped away to reveal the wood beneath. There are tooth marks onto one of the bowls. There's a faint scratches on the brickwork by the door hinges. The stand rocks unsteadily on its base. It seems that the mechanism is broken.
I can get it to
Please, nothing blow up. Oh, if only they'd known that there was a pry bar right there. Some money. And some moonstone. Imagineth all the clippeth thou would provideth to useth. Yes. It's entirely doable without 2 end turns from splattered now. Yes, we doeth. Yes. Imagine all. The thing is, if anybody turns up and they're reading on screen the words, and then I'm doing it with all in there, they're gonna think that I've got a lisp. And then when I stop doing it, they're gonna think that I'm taking the piss. So no, we're not doing it at the end of everything. Wait, is that the way out? I thought there was more stairs going up. Or did? Oh no, this is the other stairs going up. They're the stairs that I came down. These are the stairs that I'm going up. Let's see if these are any different. They would certainly be suspicious. I'll stop now. Where the smeg? Oh, this is behind. Oh. As you step over the circle of candles, you hear a rattling clunk from the wall nearby. A door slides open with the grinding rasp of stone. The candles flicker gently as you approach. There is a gap above the altar lined with broken glass, where a mirror may once have been set into the wall.
The candles are still burning. Not bad for a dead god.
What's this all for?
Redemption. They got this whole right for when you come of age. They take you by the hand and you descend through the temple with your eyes covered, and that's supposed to be like a wicked life. They don't tell you where you're going. I was sweating like crazy when I did mine. They take you to that reflecting pool back there, and you're allowed to look at it so you can face your sins. Then, you come out into this room and you uncover your eyes again, and everyone's there to greet you. All your friends and family. It's like you've been redeemed. You light your candle, and it burns with the others. Never had a feeling better than that my whole life.
Ida's eyes linger on the candles, and he seems for a moment to be a younger man.
The candles are still burning. Not bad for a dead god.
I'll leave. A part of me really wants...
Candles still burning. I figured they'd have gone out by now.
Part of me really wants to snuff one out, but I have a feeling that would be insulting to a party member, and I don't mind the guy. Alright, we are coming up to the end of the stream. We're just going to find out what this guy wants.
Welcome.
Witcherton smiles nervously as you approach. Think I've sorted out the worst of it. Arms hurting a little less. He hesitates. You were down there a while. Did you find anything? His eyes dart constantly about the ruins. Something you're nervous about? No, of course not. Just never good to linger around these places, that's all. Witton gives you a searching look. Did you find anything? You lied to me. What? Witton grins uncertainly. I was clear about everything. The risk involved, is that what you mean? I did say there'd be spiders, and I'll pay you, of course, for the trouble. You're very nervous for an honest man. Something weighs on your conscience, maybe. Withron opens his mouth to protest, but something in your expression stops him. He swallows nervously and looks away. His voice, when he speaks, is small. How did you... How could you betray them? They trusted you. Witron makes a strange, wounded noise. Betrayed? I was never one of them. Mad followers of the shattered god. If I could have chased them all out of town, if... You don't understand. I tried to help them. I did. Every day, every single day, I went to that temple and I warned them. And I told them that they were playing with fire and Frederick wouldn't be patient forever. And every time they'd shrug it off, like I didn't know what I was talking about, like it wasn't costing me coming in to try and help them. I could have been arrested right alongside them. What happened? Frederick sent word he was going to have them arrested, drag them out, lock them up. They wouldn't listen. The rhetoric said they'd been reborn if anything should happen, and she wasn't afraid. I convinced them to hide at least. They have that vault full of old relics, gold and such. I thought they could hide in there, and once the guards left, they'd have something to sell out of for passage out of the Drywood back to Adra. But when I told the men that the priest had already gone, they ordered the temple sealed. I couldn't get in again. There was nothing I could do. Ida's eyes are wide, disbelieving. Nothing you could do but tell someone. Get the town together, or organize a rescue. I'd have dug them out with my own hands if I'd have known. They were some of the last decent folks left in this hole. Now all we've got left is people like you. You could have spoken up, told Frederick the truth. Withron nods slowly. I could have, and it would have ruined me, maybe killed me, but I could have saved them. He looks up at you, eyes wet. I didn't. I told you the way of it, Withron says, his voice rough. I told you what happened. Guess it's your turn now to make a decision. It's not too late to make amends. Withron lets out the breath he's holding. I'm not sure that's true. It's been years now. What am I supposed to do? Shrug. I'm not great at the redemption business, personally. Bury their bones, trying to lead a better life than you have so far. Withron looks at the remains. He runs a hand through his hair, letting out another ragged breath. I can do that. I can. I'll lay them to rest and try and do right by them somehow. Thank you, truly, for what you've done. Giving me a second chance, I'll put it to good use. But still, not a bleeding level up. Come on. This game is killing me. I'm level 4. I have been. This session and last. And wow, it's gotten so late that my phone's decided that it's night time. Pause that for a bit. Let's restore some colour to this chat. Alright, this is where we are going to leave it, going back to the inn for rest. For this session and this week, I have been and will continue to be Karen Rossmore. Thank you for joining me. We do have a Discord going where you can come hang out with the founders, me, JStation64, RetroTed, Krifu, Banal. If somebody could type !Discord in the chat. You can hang out with us on the Discord. You can always also turn up to Manapot Studios tomorrow. There's a link if somebody types !Glitters to Manapot Studios. I say tomorrow. You can usually find us on Mondays where I GM them and crit commissions through a Starfinder Adventure Path Fly Free or Die in a stream that we call All That Glitters Explodes. But on tomorrow, I don't know what time, JStation64 or Krifu Banal or RetroTed, if somebody could tell the time. Tomorrow you can find us on Friday. It's like that all day, I just need to know what time. 7:30, we believe. So keep an eye out for the go lives. Me, JStation, RetroTed, Krifu Banal, and the Ghost of Sunny are going to be doing character generation for a one-shot that will be happening a week later in the Tales from the Loop. Tales of the Loop? From the Loop. Tales of the Loop? Something along those lines. One shot that J-Station 64 is going to be running in another week's time, I believe. Tales from the Loop. There we go. I'm prepared and everything. I am not. And then after that, hopefully it's going to be wrapped up in like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. After that, you'll find me back on this channel as I continue to either play some Hitman 3 or some Prey. It's most likely to be Prey. You can also find a lot of us over in Manapot Studios on Monday, and I also stream on Tuesdays as well as Thursdays. I think that kind of covers everything. It's a muddled up, jumbled up words. If you check my schedule below, the timings are still right, the games are wrong. I need to adjust that. But yeah, tomorrow, Manapot Studios. Full details are in our Discord. Like I say, jump on over there. You'll be welcomed in. And yeah, I think that just about covers it. I would usually go off and raid J-Station 64 on Thursday evenings, but he isn't streaming this week because of reasons. And so we are going to see if there is anybody else to raid. There might not be. I tend to raid people that I know rather than just random people, so I need to try to find out. I need to get back to the Twitch. There we go. Can we get back to Twitch? We're back to Twitch. Can we see who's currently streaming? We do not have anybody that I am aware of who is currently streaming. Go on J-Station, recommend a person. What's it? Alrighty, we are going to be raiding somebody called Wakar. And I hope you will all join me over there as we say hi. Apparently they're playing Dead Souls. It's not my kind of game, but hey ho. It should be interesting and they're decent people, and maybe we'll get sung at, so who knows. Anyway, until next time, stay safe, have fun, and until then, tidy bye.